Hello, welcome to the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 21st of November, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Frozen Zip-Tied Water Bottle Burns.
All right. No, it's not frozen. It wouldn't stay frozen.
This frozen water heavier than normal water? We'll find out later. And she's an artist, Twitch streamer, game dev, moss enthusiast, making Mystiques and a month and change. It's Inga Berman. Welcome to the show, Inga.
Thank you.
So excited to have you here. Is water heavier when you freeze it than when it's wet?
I'm not a scientist. I'm not qualified to answer that.
It's one of those mysteries of science. I'm sure it's not a mystery anymore because I'm pretty sure we've extensively studied water.
It's one of the first things that we would have solved as science.
But interesting that the solid is less dense than the liquid.
That is interesting.
Yeah, because
I guess it expands, so then air is in it. There's no air in water, even though it's called H2O. I don't know if you know.
Oxygen.
The real thing is like, what the fuck are fish breathing? That's what I like. I just don't understand.
Oxygen.
Oxygen, isn't there? There is oxygen in water, isn't there?
No, there isn't. It's 100% just water.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. We're
science segment out of the way.
Yeah. Remember how I also love because like every week when I'm booking a guest and they haven't been on the show before, I want to say, Inga, you're a wonderful example of someone to book for the show because you were incredibly accommodating when we ended up bumping the show last week. You were like asking questions about like, oh, should I read this and get prepared for this? And I was like, oh, that's really helpful, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end, I was like, it's fine. We just like hang out and talk. We have fun. It's all just opinions. And then the first thing I ask you on air is a science question.
I didn't realize I needed to practice that.
I'm so sorry. But let's talk about things that you already know, and that is about you. Tell the people watching who may not know who you are, what you do, and the kinds of games you're making. Yeah,
okay, cool. Well, I'm Inga, as you've said before, and I'm an artist. I actually used to be a ceramicist turned game developer, which is a fun story arc.
It actually happens
something I prepared earlier.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's so good.
So
you know who couldn't make that? Cliffy B.
Why is that?
He's only a game developer. He didn't have your trajectory to greatness.
I like to think that everybody has pottery in their hearts, and everyone is capable. Anyway, so I'm working on 2 games at the moment. One of which is a game I've been working on for quite a while, which is called A Month and Change, which is a game about Twitch streamers, which is fun. Ooh. It's about Twitch streamers and by Twitch streamers, so it's like meta and quite ridiculous. So that's one of them. And the other game that I'm working on at the moment is with a really cool bunch of people from Australia. We've started a studio together called Lemonade, and it's a game called Mystiques, which is a game about a bunch of eccentric women who run an antique store, and you have to go into deceased estates and choose spooky items for your store. So that's in development at the moment.
Sounds awesome.
Lots of hype. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Very, very exciting. Really, really awesome team. So, you should all follow along that journey.
Are the things haunted?
Yeah, so some of the objects in the store are in the deceased estates are haunted, and one of the characters is this like clairvoyant person who has like visions and stuff. So you kind of have to follow her vibe. Is she crazy, or can she actually see ghosts? We're not sure. You follow her and follow her vibes and figure out which things have value. Or ghosts. Mainly ghosts.
I would feel like the ghosts have more value than just the things, right?
To who, though? Who are you selling this to?
You definitely want the haunted items. Well, you're selling them to people who want to go into creepy little antique stores and buy things that have ghosts.
Mm.
Or, I guess, value.
I feel like most antique stores are filled with ghosts.
100%. They have to be, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's a value to someone died in this chair or in this chest of drawers or in this small China statue of a cat.
Yeah. Someone died. Did someone die in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And their soul is contained in this tiny cat forever. See, you're getting it. This is the game.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I love this, and I can't think of a community other than ours who are more like predisposed to like the idea of this game. So absolutely keen to check it out. So like, let us know when it's coming so we can have a peek and tell everyone about it. That's very exciting. This has nothing to do with anything being haunted, but I just did want to say I took my kids to kindy this morning, and I was dropping them off as I'm walking up the stairs to Banjo's room, the blue room. There's a little girl standing at the top. She's like 3, and she's wearing this t-shirt, this Nirvana t-shirt.
Amazing.
But her version is it's tie-dyed, but it has Nirvana and it has the smiley face. And she's 3 years old, and her mum's with her. And I get halfway up the stairs and I see her, and I go, "Oh, a fellow fan," and the mum laughs, and I look at the girl and I go, "Name 3 of their songs." And she just stares at me, and the mum like cracks up, but the girl gets like completely intimidated. I'm so sorry.
You gate-kept a 3-year-old.
No, come on. Nirvana, like, it's just... Nirvana have a song called "Rape Me," okay? Like, should a 3-year-old be listening to
I'm glad she didn't mention that.
Yeah. And of all the people to gatekeep, toddlers are the people to gatekeep because we do it all the time. They're literally kept in gated rooms.
Very literally, she was standing behind bars, waiting for her mum to open up the thing so that she doesn't fall.
It was a mild gatekeep compared to kindy.
Exactly. Which is, kindy really is just prison you pay for. Because there's like locks on the doors. You need to sign in. There's like 3 gates you have to get through that the kids can't open. They give them food at lunchtime. The shivs. So it's just it's a wild place to be. But hopefully they're having fun there today. All right, let's get started with the show because Peter Burns, the news is not going to break itself. The backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons, the best evil person we know, the garbage man who stole my log. What a prick. Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out of the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools across the country, and on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There's a link in Nightbot. Head to tasteofmultifish.com for more information about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. That's everything I have to say about Evil Spy Boy. Let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of the Backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Inga, please start us off with the story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Yeah. Well, I am a Pokemon card fan and a Pokemon fan. So as soon as I heard
the podcast you're trying to listen to isn't available right now. Well, it kind of crashed in this bit and then it comes back in a second. So I'm here, the playback guy, to fill in the gap. Inga was talking about her love of Pokemon and Pokemon cards because her story is all about Las Vegas Raiders player Blake Martinez, who recently sold a 9.5 gem mint Pokemon card. But what kind of card was it? Well, I'll return you to Inga for that.
Yeah. So the Pokemon card is the Illustrator card, and basically there were 40 of these cards made, and they were given to winners of drawing competitions in Japan. I think there were a couple of them, and the winners got one of these cards, but also got their artwork that they drew on a Pokemon card as well. So he sold it for $672,000. I don't know if I think it's probably US dollars, so it's probably more. So.
Wait, so...
Have to assume Unless they say AUD, then yeah, it's probably US dollars.
So it's not even. It's like it's a Pokemon card that isn't even a Pokemon card. It's like it's not the art from the Pokemon artists, and it's not playable. It doesn't look playable.
Well, they get different artists to illustrate all of the Pokemon cards anyway, but I don't think it's. I mean, I imagine it's playable. Usually, these promo cards are playable. It's some kind of item. I don't speak Japanese though, or read it.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
yeah. I think this is an official card, but there are people, and there's quite an industry in people redrawing cards. So they basically get like acetone or something, and they rub everything off the card except for the existing picture. And then they redraw the rest of the scene.
I've seen these.
And
they're really pretty.
They're actually
really cool.
It's actually beautiful, but it's also really fucking niche and nerdy, and I don't think adds value to a card.
No,
I think it
if
would
someone had
take
done
away.
that,
value.
yeah.
Oh, it depends what card it is. You're not going to do that to one of these like $600,000 cards, but maybe you do it to a Weedle.
I mean, the two Pokemon fans just fucking loved that joke. Look at you nerds. Maybe you do it
Who's
to a Weedle
keeping their
and you both
Weedle
sort of chuckle
cards?
to yourself. And I'm
Who's
always
keeping
have-
a Weedle card?
Fuck
Anyway?
I have about
Straight in the
100
bin.
Weedle cards. This story made me get my Pokemon card box out, which I kid you not is like this big. Child Inga put them all in socks and stuff. I don't know why socks.
Amazing.
Don't ask questions.
individual cards in individual socks or collections of cards?
No, collections of cards.
Okay, right.
I also got coloured socks for like the different types. So there's like a green sock
Oh, for all
the
your
for the grass Pokemon.
lovely.
God, I
That's
was
sweet.
smart.
That's like
What happened?
you turn up to a tournament and they're like, I'm running a Weedle deck, and you're like, I've got a blue sock deck.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
like have a belt and then like socks tied around your belt, and you're walking with a bunch of socks.
Good.
Oh, no, Inga's back.
So, I mean, I think this is a real indictment on how much NFL players are being paid. That he sold a card for $650,000. It was like, I'm done, I'm out.
An indictment.
Yeah, they need to be paid more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mid-season
A
as well. It
year's
was just
salary
like
is one
stud.
card. Come on.
Yeah, totally. It's a great story. Like, it's a very lovely sort of like, and really, who among us would not pick? Do you want to be? Because he's a linebacker, right? Yeah. So who among us would not pick? My body gets destroyed on a weekly basis, and as I smash headfirst into other people trying to kill me, or I open up decks of cards or find them in Inga's socks and sell them for ludicrous amounts of money on the internet. So I think he's made the right decision.
Gotta choose the socks.
How long do you still, you said you got your Pokemon collection out. Do you still, are you take an active interest? Because I know the Pokemon cards are like really blown up again in the last couple of years.
No, I don't play or anything, but I just open it up when I feel extra nerdy, spicy, and have a look at them. But yeah, it doesn't go beyond that.
I got rid of all mine. I feel like an idiot.
Ah, shame.
They were all like, they were in a case. They weren't like in sleeves, so they weren't protected very well, but they were like in a case at my parents' place. And like when I left home, I was like, that can all just go in the bin, Mom. And she was like, okay.
Bin! Oh, no.
There is a holographic Charizard in the tip at the Hurstville City Council, if anyone wants to dig through that.
I'm there.
Is that worth anything?
I don't know. I think a mint condition Charizard. Let's look it up. Mint condition Charizard value between $25,000 and $150,000 for a first edition, which it would have been in 99. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I've got two of them, but neither of them are first editions.
Yeah, okay. You're too young.
No, I'm not. I'm super old.
My son has just started collecting Pokemon cards, and it is I'm just watching my bank balance disappear in the future, because it's like, this is because he obviously doesn't play the game. He's 5, the card game, and so he's obsessed now, and it's all he wants for Christmas is Pokemon cards. And I was like, I truly have made him in my own image in terms of like an addiction to collectible card games. This is a terrible path to walk down. So maybe we'll take a visit to the tip. And I'll try to find that stuff because that just feels like, an easy way to get a cheap Christmas present.
And good. Oh, I thought he was going to be father-son bonding time. He can't be there if it's a present.
No. He'll stay here. I'll just go to the tip just to get some alone time.
Or do you want a sock full of 35 Weedles?
Nice.
I really fucking want a sock full of 35 Weedles. I want to explain to him like what just arrived in the mail. I love that. Cool, great story, and the Raiders will miss him, but it feels like his heart wasn't in it. So good riddance, Peter.
He was never destined for it.
Never.
What story caught your eye this week?
So Riot and Ubisoft have teamed up, joined forces to combat toxicity and just bad online behavior. League of Legends is oft touted as the biggest hive of scum and villainy that the internet has to offer. I don't know that that's a reality. I've played Dota. I've played any other game online. They're all pretty awful. But Riot have, over kind of the last, I guess, like better part of a decade now, been seen to be making efforts to combat the toxicity in their game by introducing a bunch of different systems. And they've decided that it is too big a task for one developer to take on. So they've partnered with Ubisoft for the Zero Harm in Comms research project. And they're teaming up for a tech partnership to develop a database gathering in-game data to better train AI-based preemptive moderation tools that detect and mitigate disruptive behavior in-game. Any data gathered that will be able to identify a person will be removed before sharing. So it's not built to dox you, this system, but it's built to stop people doxing you. It's interesting. Obviously auto moderation is a thing that's been around for a while, but it's been pretty manual, like setting keywords and stuff like that you want to block. I think that AI moderation is, I don't know, I kind of look at this kind of the extreme lengths that we've gone into for moderating as the Band-Aid, not the fix, and the fix is culture shift, not...
Oh, I thought you were going to say execution. Yes, the fix is culture shift.
Is just execute every League of Legends player. And I think, and while that sounds awful, the world would probably be a better place.
I think if you took everyone, and like I include myself in this list because I play COD. If you took everyone who plays Call of Duty, Dota, League of Legends, CS:GO, and I reckon those are probably the main ones. And if we just round all of us up and I don't know, mass drowning, perhaps, like put us on boats, say that we're going to a tournament,
like a Sims thing, like put us all in a pool and then take away the ladder.
100%. I actually think the world would massively improve.
How would the internet change?
Like it would just be people like you.
Like so
lovely people who contribute to society. While Pete and I are just doggy paddling until we don't have enough energy left.
And don't come back.
So I guess that's my position on this, is like, good on them for doing something rather than nothing. But I don't think that moderation is ever going to stop people finding ways to be... you just learn new syntax, right? It's like, oh, you can't say the word fuck, so you type 7 UCK, That's an early version of it, but it's just, we've been doing that ever since. And the intent is still to be rude or cruel or racist or sexist, and people just find new shorthand to do that, no matter what tool is getting in the way.
If you're not allowed to do that, then people want to do it even more as well. So, I don't know what the workaround is. If it is a culture shift in some kind of way, like how on earth do you culturally change a whole generation of gamers who just want to be racist?
Oh, I think that there's definitely a lost cause generation.
They're gone forever.
I think it starts at school and goes up
to
from
the
there.
ocean.
That's so true. Anyone that isn't a glint in their future parent's eye right now just needs to be written off. And we start from today. If you conceive a child today, there may be hope that you're a successful person who adds to society on the internet. But if you are in utero right now, you're fucked, and we're writing you off. You're going in the big pool.
Sorry.
In the pool.
Yeah, we'll see how this one turns out. I mean, we got to do something, right? But honestly, I think that one of the things is, it's the thing, the way that I, and I am, I when I play multiplayer games now and in the past have copped heaps of shit just because I'm a person in the game. But I am not anyone who is generally targeted for any reason. Like, I'm not a minority. I'm not someone who is who has something else that people feel like makes me worthy of their bile. And so even just being base, like I am starter character, and I still cop shit. So my default is I just turn off communication. I don't do voice chat. I turn off text chat, like all of it. Not helpful if you're trying to communicate with a team in an effective way, but like basically just bubbling yourself seems to be the only way that you can actually avoid getting hated on the internet for merely existing.
Yeah, I was like that as a child, and I'm still traumatized. So I like virtually never play with randoms. I only ever like go into voice with people that I know. So I can't be bothered.
I fucking love it. I fucking love it. If someone starts shit,
we have the sweetest troll
I dive
ever in the call.
right fucking in. I love it. And again,
Yeah.
I'm generic white guy, so I'm not getting attacked in ways that are like, I'm getting attacked from below. But not the hardest position to be fighting back from, but I enjoy it. I was playing Halo. This is a message I have on my Xbox account from the 30th of July. I obviously played a game and beat this guy, Devil's Mate. Just messaged me out of the fucking blue. Nerd, get off the game, you try hard. So I just responded, said I wasn't even trying, I'm just that good.
You like that?
Nothing. No comment from there. Nothing from there. I've got one from. Oh, that was a nice one. I've got one from Chaos King NZ that just says you're amazing, and I said no, you are. I've got one. I've got one here from Dave Dunnett, who said rubbish piece of shit. And I responded by saying, have you considered getting good at any point, though? You seem to talk a lot of shit in socials for such a shit player is all. Might want to get some skill to back up the chatter, And then he said, coming from a PC Muppet, that's a bit rich. So I left it there.
War!
My Xbox chat is full of that stuff.
You're such a fucking enigma, Pete. Like there are two halves of you, and there is the person that we know and love, and then there's the cunt that you run across in an online game. And
I never start shit, but as soon as it starts, I'm in.
End it.
In so hard. I love it.
Yep.
And you don't always win, but it's fun banter. I adore it. I adore it. So my point is I don't want moderation. Take this away. No, I think
or are they actually real angry at you?
there's I think it's just because I only play PvP games. There's just a flare of frustration after a loss or a win, or if in Halo in particular, teabagging is very much alive and well. So people will teabag each other, and that starts it as well. So then they become a target for the rest of the game. So there's that kind of stuff. You're definitely building tension in the competitiveness of it. So people kind of flare up, and then they're not those people haven't thought about, I forgot that they existed, those comments, but I just have that just happens constantly. There's just people message you, and particularly now that it's on PC, it's so easy to type.
Yep.
Where it used to be you'd get voice messages on Xbox Live.
I hate
you. Remember those things? That was so funny. This tiny little child voice going fuck you.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Oh god, the harassment and shit talk meta is actually like your favorite part of
I love it so much, and Dota as well. I love it. I love like tilting people, man. It's so good.
Maybe we got to just make a game that's just purely about people hating on each other, and then they can all get it out of their systems and not do it to people who don't want it.
I mean, the funny thing is, it's like
It's the pool.
it's the pool.
Put it in the pool.
That should be the name of the game. Is the pool, and you lose if you get tossed in the pool. I mean, the funny thing is, like, healthy competition and shit talking in some ways is a good thing. It's just when people are like, if it's there as like part of the banter and you're both enjoying something, as soon as it becomes from a real genuine place or at all about the other person, that's the line that, like, the actual line is going, I don't think everyone should just be nice to each other all the time. I think that's dumb. It's just like, don't, like, pick the things that that are actual problems with other people and direct your criticisms of other people at their genuine flaws and not at the things that just make them different.
It's definitely it's definitely a part of what online gaming is missing compared to traditional sport. You know, when I played rugby when I was younger, it was like you're trying to hurt each other. Like, you were running at each other as hard as you possibly could, and that was the engagement, right? Like, people would sledge each other and stuff as well on the field, but as soon as the game was over, we would shake hands and see you next time we come up against each other. But
or you quit when you find a Pokemon card that's...
Or you go and you play with your Weedle sock. But you can't do that. You can't do that online. I mean, you can talk shit in the game and then maybe not afterwards, but it's so not built that way of having, like, looking someone in the face and shaking hands at the end of it.
100%.
It's GG's has as much weight as go fuck your mother, you know, or I fucked your mother kind of thing. Like, it's all so disconnected from humanity.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
So, yeah.
Speaking of disconnected from humanity, my story this week, the developers of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet seem to be disconnected from the people who play the game and who want a game that they can actually play. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out last week, and the internet is just loving how janky it is.
Oh my god.
God.
There's a little compilation someone's put on YouTube.
Amazing. So I stop looking at this. I have been playing this game with my son. It is his first proper Pokemon game. And even in the first 2 hours, I have had to explain to him that this is not how most video games are. Just things are happening and he's like, why did that happen? So we fell through the world once. So that happened. I've had a T-pose character, and he's like, "Why are they making that pose?" And I was like, "It doesn't matter." The interesting thing about this, because lots of games come out and they're buggy. It's fucking wild. Lots of games come out and they're buggy, and making games is incredibly difficult. The thing about this is that, like, Pokemon games, I feel like oftentimes are not the most well optimized and amazing pieces of coding, and Nintendo are struggling a bit at the moment with, or they're not struggling, but there's a lot of public perception around the idea of there needs to be a new Switch. It's just not powerful enough. But Nintendo first-party games never seem to have these kinds of problems, and I know that Pokemon is not a first-party game for Nintendo. It is made by Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, but it may as well be a first-party title for Nintendo. Like, it just isn't owned by them, I suppose. And I am surprised that the game could come out in this kind of state, given how valuable it is for Nintendo as an IP. And also, I guess that this is Arceus came out last year or beginning of this year. When did Arceus come out?
When was Arceus?
It was beginning of this year, right?
Yeah, I think it was like a February release. Yeah.
So it had done the open world thing in some respect, but this was like the true. This is like the true, real next step forward for mainline Pokemon franchise, and it just seems like the comparison. I was listening to a podcast that Kind of Funny guys talking about it, and they were like, if the jump of this from traditional Pokemon is not as big, but kind of like the jump that Breath of the Wild took for Zelda. And if Breath of the Wild was as janky as this was, we'd all be going like, "Oh, I'm seriously worried about what's happening with Zelda. How could they release a game in this state?" And Pokemon just doesn't seem to have that. I don't know, Inga, have you been playing Pokemon Violet or Scarlet? And have you, if so, have you run across this stuff?
No, I haven't been playing it at all, but I saw someone posted online that even the texture quality and the graphics are not good. Like there's all of these like crazy bugs, but they posted a screenshot of like the actual like textures on a mountain, and it was just like very obvious like tileable like blocks. It was just awful. It's crazy because like you think of Pokemon games as being like very incredibly polished, and then this comes out and it's like, what happened?
Yeah. It looks like a lot of these glitches we're seeing as well as people playing cooperatively, which we haven't tried yet. I'm keen to, because I've played 4 hours or something like that, and it hasn't been a super smooth experience, but I haven't had any major glitches. I haven't fallen through a map, or I haven't, I haven't had any T-poses and stuff, even though I've seen, I've had the same scenes where people I've seen videos of it happening, and it didn't happen for me. It's definitely like not a smooth gameplay experience, but ultimately I think it is like, it's buggy as hell, and it shouldn't be acceptable, but but I think the kind of, now that I'm a few hours in and have kind of been let out into the open world, I think it is the interesting logical next step of what a Pokemon game should be. I don't think that they've not tried to achieve what they wanted to creatively. So maybe they've gone too hard and failed. But Arceus was definitely a lot smoother experience in this, and it was their first kind of foray, though it was way less open.
It was more. There were zones, weren't there? And it was also like much less populated.
The open world was, the open world had probably as many Pokemon, but fewer people walking around, and town. There weren't little towns. There were some little towns of people. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how they, 10 months later since the Arceus release have seemed to go backwards.
That to me, that might be the thing, because I'm always just astonished at the rate that Pokemon games come out, and I kind of get it, like particularly because, and again, I'm not a massive Pokemon fan, so I'm really talking from an outsider's perspective, that a lot of the time they don't really change that much, and so you go, the idea of like you keep putting out oftentimes the same kind of game. Now, in the last 12 months, that's been totally different, but the cadence at which they release seems like you could slow down, take a couple of years to really blow the socks off with something new and solid and like a real step forward. By all accounts, the game part of this is a lot of that. Like, I know that people have been loving the game, and the technical issues aside, it just seems like I said, like with Nintendo, I almost feel like if I was working for Nintendo, if I was an exec there, I would be like, can we just send some people? Like, let us send some of the fucking Mario people over to just help you figure out how to really optimize your game for this platform. Because you can keep making the Pokemon thing, but give us 6 months to just like actually make it run properly. That's not how games work, but you know what I mean? Like, send over some ringers to be able to like give some guidance or put in some quality control, because it just seems like it's such a big franchise that people, and it's aimed at kids primarily. So it's like, until it starts hitting the bottom line, there's no reason for them to change.
Yeah, it's just crazy. You'd expect more, but also I think it's that like being able to release updates as well. Like, if you weren't able to release updates, then they would never have released it at this state. But they're just like, oh, it's fine. Let's just release it and fix it in post.
Over the next 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think that a lot of games are falling into that trap now and just being like, well, people want it and they will buy it now, so why not just release it? But then, it's really like makes the quality standard go down.
Yeah, totally. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this has. I'm sure it hasn't affected sales, but I would say that at least some of the press around this will be something that Nintendo will be hearing about, because it was included in essentially every review of the game had docked scores from it because of the technical difficulties, which I think is, barring the financial bottom line, the next thing that Nintendo would be paying attention to. Like, people shit talking on Twitter probably doesn't matter at all, but when you see each review say, I would have given it this, but I had to reduce the score because of X, Y, and Z, then maybe that's the moment that Nintendo are like, we're sending over the Odyssey team. They come in like in SWAT gear and just kick down the doors.
I'd love to see the analytics of people who have returned it. See how many people really decided to keep the game or just get rid of it.
And at the same time, I do love glitches like this, because it makes you realize, and Inga, you would know far more about this, but it makes you realize just like how weird game development is, that this stuff can happen. And it's like, all of it
bizarre.
is just kind of, it's all just taped together, and it's just how good is the tape. I feel like that's what game development is. It's like, how strong was the tape that we used to hack this thing together?
I kind of love it when things muck up in games. So I can have a look at it and go like...
So those are the main stories that caught our eye this week.